guess people just get to shut up, basically, and quit whining and worrying. I realize why you worry. I mean, when there's something as great as Slipknot right outside, your grasp, and it's supposedly coming and bigger and better and different, you could go a little crazy. So the only thing that's changed is I'm a lot older, and we have a #1 album, which just means we connect with our kids, our fans, our maggots, which is truly the most important thing, that we make eye contact with them and give them a barrage of colors and feelings and emotions and vibrations, and in return we get to feel, their exorcisms most likely, I guess. So I think the only thing that's changed is we are here. The past is the past. The album finally dropped. We've been touring, having a blast, already talking about other records. Well, the way I look at it is that Slipknot is Slipknot, and you can't have one thing without the other. So you can't have the music without the mass, vice versa, and it's all part of it now, and it's been happening such a long time that it's kind of the way it is. But these personas anymore, it's just such who I am that I really don't spend much time thinking about it, because it just becomes closer and closer to what I really am, which is whatever that may be to you. I mean, it takes 6 months to make a record, marketing, preparation. So, if we're touring the rest of this year and some of next year, could be as early as first quarter 2017. I mean, I'm just giving you actual facts. But we're writing now. We're in the rhythm of writing all the time, which is a very helpful tool because we love doing that. So it's not a waste of time. It's not anything that won't get used. Usually, if we're writing, it's passion, and whether it's written here or in someone's garage or in a basement, it's all for the better cause. So who knows? Hopefully soon. Paul's a hell of a guy. That's he's a good friend, and he had a good sense of humor and good energy. I miss his energy on days like this. He'd be really this would be exciting to him. This this big stadium. He'd be doing a lot of stuff today, and his energy would be good, and I miss that. Just that positive. Remembering why we were kids and jamming in a basement to take over the world in some rock band, back when it was a dream. So, he'd live it. He'd really appreciate this, and he would remind you not to take it for granted, whereas some people look at it and say, look, we got all these people. He'd put it into a really cool view that'd make you really appreciate it and not take it for granted. Everything's good, man. Having a good time. It's good to be back in Europe. It's good to be back in Milan. We're really enjoying ourselves, and it's another art experiment. I was in Rio for Rock in Rio this year on the 25th of September. I only know that because my birthday is before it, the 24th, and we were there. Direct support for Metallica. There was 150,000 people. I think at that time that was probably our biggest show. I don't know. I'd have to add up all those big festivals that we headlined and stuff. I don't know. I had met with Lars and asked him politely if he would be interested. And I asked him because of my understanding and respect and my love for his love of loving art. He is a serious artist, and he loves art like I love it. I've watched him collect art and sell art and, obtain other art and be in the art world, from the outside looking in. And I thought, this is perfect because he'll be someone that understands me, or not understand me. And, I'll ask him. And so I asked him, and he said yes. And I was like, man, it's going to be such a fucking honor. I can't believe it. So there was a show called Master here in LA
where you had to pick a Metallica song and make a piece of art that was inspired by the band, the lyrics, the music, all of it, none of it, and express something in a piece of art. So I picked Damage Incorporated because that's like the first Metallica song I heard. You know, someone who introduced me to it, it was that placement of time. I had walked in on that, and that was my first impression. I'll never forget that, and it's still one of my all-time favorite Metallica songs. So I made this sculpture, and it's like 7 foot tall or some shit, and it's got like rotting deer heads and World War II jacket and 40 porcelain baby arms that I hand painted over like 2 months. I lit the whole thing on fire, and I had an iPod shuffle in the back playing the loop of the intro, the guitar swells, looping for like 10 minutes in the back with these headphones that were reversed, playing it. So when you walk by, you're like, is Damage Incorporated playing? Like it's, you're like, what is happening? And it's really small, but it's so big because you're like, this thing is talking in music. And I had all these knives that they didn't want me to put on because they were afraid Lars or anyone in Metallica who came to the show were going to cut themselves. I'm like, they'll understand. They'll be like, that's some clown shit. And they'll be like, ow. And they'll be like, what? And they'll be like, it's clown sculpture. Damn it. It's some clown shit. I'm all right with it now that I know it's clown, but that sucks. So, I was there like 2 hours before the show screwing in 2 knives because they told me I couldn't. I'm like, that's bullshit. These 2 knives belong in the front, and I'm going to pull my sculpture from this damn thing if I don't. So I just pulled it out in the parking lot thing, and I drilling these knives in. And I was supposed to protect them all with like a little piece of styrofoam. Like I was going to do that. I just left them exposed, and all night, some cocky LA people would come up to it, and I just watched their gestures and stuff. I'm like, excuse me, because they're real close to my shit. And I'd be like, excuse me, you're about ready to stab yourself? And they'd be like, what, who are you? And they look down, there's this rusty-ass knife, and they're like, whoa, he wasn't kidding. And I'm like, be careful, man, just be careful, And they'd be like, I'd be like, what? I was hoping there was going to be some blood, and maybe summon something out of this thing. But, I thought I'd save you from yourself. And so Metallica showed up, and Lars came. And he had said that he knew my piece was there, so he saved me for last. And we spent like a half an hour or something, and it was, I don't want to say what he said because it was he and I, and he was just, I don't know, man. It was a very beautiful moment in my life, explaining a piece of art through me to him because we're friends. And I respect him so much, and that's why I gave my version of what it was, because I know his version's different. And, it inspired him to write what he wrote for me. And it was that moment, I guess he had his epiphany about what's going on with my book. And he took that moment, which was about sculpture and about his band, and he arrived at the end, which is about my book. And I'm just like, he's in one of the all-time greatest bands ever created, and he's one of the best drummers of all time. And here he is taking time in reality to talk about my God, art, pain, being born, knowing that, death is more proof than God, and that's where I'm going. And there are people that are buried with markers that have been in the ground longer than I'm ever going to be alive. So there's answers there. So when that time comes, that's what we do as humans. That's what we chose. A car wreck. It's a fucking car wreck. If you've ever been in a car wreck, then you understand what it takes to be in Slipknot. And yeah, man, we're a contact sport. We're at this point we're a culture. So I'm pretty proud because I can get very upset very quickly, seeing a lot of my peers and older bands. And it's hard, man, this business. They take you and, saturate your ass and then spit you out. And by the time you figure it out, you might be a little bit older. So, I don't know, Slipknot's, at this point, it's still an enigma, and it's a culture. And we're just lucky, man. We're just blessed and lucky, and we just do what we do, and people still like it, and that's cool. We're around because we speak the truth.
if we speak the truth, it must be with what's going on around us today. You know what I'm saying? And people are grabbing a hold of that. That's never going to stop, but it's going to take over to a new plateau. You know what I'm saying? It's going to get a little more underground. It's going to get a little more diverse and bigger. You know what I mean? And we're going to cut all this out. I personally am going to start making people as yourself, responsible for what you're doing, because you've asked me to be responsible. And see, I live in my own imagination, so you're only here because I choose you to be here. You know what I'm saying? You wouldn't have to be here if I didn't want you to be here. I wouldn't have to be here if I didn't. This didn't even have to happen, but I wanted it to.
We could spend months and months and months going into everything that led up to the creation of, one of the greatest bands ever. But I'll give you a quick scenario. I basically was married with 2 children and had a welding job. I would have to be at work at about 5:30 in the morning, which means I would have to leave at 4:30 because I like to be early. So I'd find myself falling asleep on the road on the way back, actually down in the ditch and coming back. And I started to think to myself that, that this is not how I wanted to live. Well, growing up, there's a lot of words that I don't believe that you need to use in this world. So I'm going to stay away from one of them that I really don't like, that can really hurt people's feelings. But I'll tell you what it was to me. I always was considered bigger than most people because I was growing fast. And there were a lot of awful words used that can really, get on your mind and sit at home and think about. So when it came time to thinking about what I wanted to do forever, which was make music and make it with the best friends I could possibly find and that have now, we chose kids that in my mind were special because they were unique in the fact that they were themselves and were all right with themselves. But the interesting fact to that, I guess the negative fact to their originality, was that more times than none, the majority would not accept that originality because it wasn't normal. And these were the kinds of kids that we wanted to represent. We all went to school with kids like this, and at one time or another, we were all this kid in some fashion, whether it be in math, religion, social studies, history, pottery, you name it. There's always that one kid that is picked out. So we sort of knew kind of who we wanted to cater to, and it was us first and foremost, and then find the people most like us who, I affectionately refer to as the maggots, who build up the culture, SLIPKNOT.
It's really nice to be allowed to disappear for a while, to physically heal, spiritually, mentally. I like to watch the world when we're off, feel the world, look for new art, be inspired. So it's nice to be able to take a lot of time off and then come back, and it's absolutely wonderful to be accepted like always and getting bigger. And I guess that's always been our plan. As long as it's evolving, then we keep doing it, and it just keeps evolving. So we're really pleased.
SLIPKNOT basically is the end-all be-all of my dream. I knew my bass player, Paul. I got together with him, and we were like brothers from a different world. He grew up in Venice. He had been in and out of gangs, lived under peers, hard life. Whereas I went to private schools, spoiled, rotten, only child kid, these sorts of things. But when we were together, we were like the same person. We had the same outlook.
Well, the way I look at it is that SLIPKNOT is SLIPKNOT, and you can't have one thing without the other. So you can't have the music without the mass, vice versa, and it's all part of it now, and it's been happening such a long time that it's kind of the way it is. But these personas anymore, it's just such who I am that I really don't spend much time thinking about it, because it just becomes closer and closer to what I really am, which is whatever that may be to you.
Yeah, I was talking to a fan today in the meet and greet, and he told me that he's been waiting for tonight for a long time. So I asked him how long he had his ticket, and he said 6 months that he's been waiting to do this. And, you know, we're so blessed to have fans that feel that way. So I think they and us are the same. So it doesn't surprise me, because we need them like, you know, they need us, and we wouldn't be here if we didn't need to do it. So I can understand that they need it.
I like exercise, man. Exercising, like, I like challenges. I like to work for 2 months for something to pan out 4 months. You know, I like to start a project here now. Tell myself I'm looking for, I call them dots, you know. I'm always looking for the dots, and it might take a 6-week tour to only get 2 dots, but I will connect those 2 dots to the last tour where I got maybe 3, and it just keeps coming, it keeps coming, it keeps coming. And then there's a root in there, and then I try to build off that seed. So I still love that, and it takes meeting people from all around the world at different years. You know, it takes food, it takes social things, it takes playing, it takes isolation, it takes being homesick, all those things. So I try to use all the negative to fill the void and find something deeply artistic within that to help me, you know, strive on a forward motion, you know. And we still all do that musically and everything, you know. Might be a weird day, it might just be these hammocks that are out here today. It might inspire something, because, you know, yesterday we're in a kick-ass little theater and everything was perfect, and, you know, today it's perfect too, but it's chill. You know, we're in the trees and it's cool, you know. So I use these experiences to help me further my career in the art, you know, musically, artistically, lyrically, whatever it is. And we still do very well with that.
Went with it, you know. We kind of let everybody look and feel and try to understand it. Usually worked out that people saw us and they didn't understand it. Then they heard us and they really didn't understand it. But then they came out and watched the show, and then they were like, oh, I get it all. You know what I mean? So we kind of took that approach, just shut up, shut up, shut up. Don't talk about, you know, what it is, and, you know, just let it happen. But through that, a lot of you know what I mean? A lot of press, a lot of TV and all that stuff have just kind of, you know, perverted it, manipulated it, made it boring. The bottom line is you still get up and go to work, and you could be in a bad mood, and I might not get all your attention. I'm tired of that. If you're going to talk about me, I want all your attention. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't want a bad day
No.
when you're writing the words. I want you to do your job, you know what I mean? And write it down the way it was said. In your opinion, maybe I'm an asshole. Maybe I'm an egotistical maybe I'm a genius. Maybe I'm Jesus. I don't know. I'm saying I just want you to be honest. I want you to communicate with me. You know what I mean? And I just want to tell the truth. And they haven't been telling the truth. You know, that they're clever. They're in between so much that they think they're painting pictures in words, you know, saying what they need to keep it going, you know.
So I started making a lot of comp tapes, a lot of comp CDs to listen to kind of refresh my mind. I can remember a day that my wife had come out of my house and let me know that one of my uncles had been murdered, and it was a gang initiation kind of thing, and it was actually on America's Most Wanted. And they never found the killers because it was, you know, it was a random, quick thing that happened. I was thinking how short life is and how random life is, and that you really don't know what life is going to throw you. So it kind of was a parallel theme of me falling asleep in the car while having 2 children and a wife. And I can remember cleaning up my shop that day, and my wife was sitting on the back porch. And I remember walking up to her and saying that I was going to get back into music because I had felt that I could reach the most amount of people at once with the message that I felt that I was given in this world to give. And I actually remember telling her that, you know, she was like, okay, cool, you're going to be in a band, you're going to jam, you still got to be here to put the kids to bed and help feed and do these kinds of things. And I was like, you don't understand, I'm going to make the biggest band in the world. I'm going to focus all my energy, and I'm going to tighten up every loose end, from the way we tie our shoes, to the way we play, to the way we look, to the way we act, to the way we talk, to the way we walk into a venue. I'm going to tighten it all up, and it's not going to fail, and it's going to be noticed. And if it's not noticed, I'm going to kick the door in.
So you got to take a moment to yourself just for a second. You got to think about what just happened. I have to think about my mom and dad who are deceased. I have to think about my wife who is not here. I have to think about my other 2 kids that are not here. I got to think about all the people that helped me be here. Man, I got to think about all those kids. And when that's done, we got to take these fucking things off first, because these suck.
I've always reached out to my fans. I try to be as close as I can, mainly through art, and art as an expression of feeling and pain, whether it be photography, poetry. As a lot of people know, I'm finally completed the Mega Bible, and the majority of it is stories about, you know, the band that I am in and how it's helped them through their lives in very important times where they weren't accepted and potentially bullied and outcasts. And, you know, we don't tolerate that. And even though we express imagery, lyrics, and music that is highly aggressive and always pushing the envelope of art as a whole, we have a deep, deep, deep message that starts with us as the root, and then we grow the root out into the fans, and then we grow together as this really beautiful thing known as Slipknot, the culture of Slipknot with the message.
Before I helped start Slipknot, I was going to go to college to teach like impressionistic painting history. That's what I wanted to do. So I've been trying to not remove the scratch that I created for Slipknot, but I want to evolve the scratch. So we felt a certain way in 98, 99, definitely a different way in 2001, so on and so forth. So at this point, I'm just really challenging myself. You know, I'm challenging myself with all the techniques and all the knowledge and just all the art that I love so much. So I had a lot of standards that I wanted to meet for this video. And that's a big part of it. Is not, usually when I do things, I can get lost, which makes everybody else get lost. And I wanted to really push myself to basically nail what's in my head and not let any excuses go by, not let anything go by, just really make it happen. So it's based off a little bit more finer art.
I've put the pieces of the puzzle together that I've needed to, but all the other gentlemen that do it with me, they've done it too. So I don't want to discredit any of that ever on anything I do.
I mean, you know, it takes 6 months to make a record, you know, marketing, you know, preparation. So, you know, if we're touring the rest of this year and some of next year, you know, could be as early as first quarter 2017. I mean, I'm just giving you actual facts. But we're writing now, you know, we're in the rhythm of writing all the time, which is a very helpful tool because we love doing that. So it's not a waste of time. It's not anything that won't get used. Usually if we're writing, it's passion. And whether it's written here or in someone's garage or in a basement, it's all for the better cause. So who knows? Hopefully soon.
Not difficult at all. I mean, you know, we're self-contained, man. We know what we're doing, If we don't want to do it, we're not going to do it. If we didn't want to continue, we wouldn't try and then quit. We know what's up, you know. So it wasn't very hard at all. We love what we do. So life is choices.
We go more for mood. I mean, normally I won't get into the technology aspect of our stage and shit because it's I don't care what makes the things light on fire, I just want fire. So yeah, they can have a bigger batter, but will it give the temperature that Slipknot wants to show? So I guess what I'm trying to say is technology is never in line to making decisions about the mood. It's ideas, then ideas get built, there's concrete physical things, and then things get added and we create a mood. But yeah, we're always just, we're always searching ourselves, and we stumble onto the technology by wanting to create things that need it. So I think we're pretty lucky that we're not some big pop band that has to have every bell and whistle and that kind of thing. We make what we want. We want to make an entrance to hell, more or less, and have you feel like you're on a ride.
You feel like a cartoon and make me feel like some animated superhero. Those things is work for me. I like it that everybody does that to us because it makes me grow. It makes me work, makes me cut through it. What I don't like is, I don't like references of, I don't like people taking their opinions too far by stating what they know we are, as of, Satanistic stuff, There's not one member in the band that is a practicing Satanist, and nor would be, and it's just is what it is, and I'm tired of it. And if you can't come at Slipknot intellectually and read the words and download the information and go to fan sites and see all the potential. I'll give you an example. My wife got sick, and we had to cancel like a 30-day tour that we were going to do before coming here and making up this postponement. And we had to cancel that tour because my wife got sick. She had Crohn's, and we had to have surgery. And, everything turned out great. Well, the bottom line is, everybody judges us. They judge the hate thing. They judge all of it, and they think they know. So they just quickly answer what they know about us. And it gets out there, and people are listening. A lot of people are ignorant. They don't take the time, like I was explaining to you. We need days, weeks to understand each other. I had so many maggots and so many people in the industry ask me how my wife was. Still every day someone asks me. Someone that I've made a relationship with at the record label in France. Someone that I've met in Amsterdam 2 years ago when I played there for the first time. Shaun, how's your wife? If that isn't something, if that isn't pure positive potential created through Slipknot, for me, I can't speak for everybody, but, I looked at that. And I never set out to be in a band that cared that we were connecting with all 10,000 people. I'll be honest. If one thought process leaves getting it, and I helped, then I did everything I could do.
I grew up in an alcoholic family, and a lot of it was kept from me until a later age. I had noticed a lot of it instinctively, so I had built up a lot of rage and a lot of anger that I was unaware of because people weren't taking the time to explain what I was noticing. So the message was a rooted evil almost of anger. And when I said that I wanted to reach as many people that I could, I wanted to reach the people that I felt maybe had similar feelings to me, because I was never told what was going on. And I had felt that maybe by giving my message, I might meet people that had similar feelings or understandings on how I felt, and maybe through that we could connect. And the overall goal was to get some sort of salvation for myself.
I was asked to let you see this face. Pretty fucking lucky to see it, actually. It's probably the first time. It might pretty much be the last time. But in my life, I just want to give all I got. I'm away from my wife, I'm away from kids. My dad's gone, my mom's gone, my bass player's gone. I got good friends at home. And unless I'm out here fucking giving 190%, 200%, whatever percent it is, then I'm not doing it, man. I'm not doing it for the money. I'm not doing it for the ego, the publicity. I'm not doing it for anything else but art and love, for salvation. So one day I have a little peace like the rest of us, and that's what every kid out there was, especially those kids that are told to sit where they have to stay so they can be safe because they're in a wheelchair. I do it for all of them and myself. So who knows if even what I'm saying makes sense, because it's just tonight. If you get me tomorrow, it might mean something else.
Before I helped start Slipknot, I was going to go to college to teach like impressionistic painting history. That's what I wanted to do. So I've been trying to not remove the scratch that I created for Slipknot, but I want to evolve the scratch. So we felt a certain way in 98, 99, definitely a different way in 2001, so on and so forth. So at this point, I'm just really challenging myself. You know, I'm challenging myself with all the techniques and all the knowledge and just all the art that I love so much. So I had a lot of standards that I wanted to meet for this video. And that's a big part of it, is not, usually when I do things, I can get lost, which makes everybody else get lost. And I wanted to really push myself to basically nail what's in my head and not let any excuses go by, not let anything go by, just really make it happen. So it's based off a little bit more finer art.
So we started getting all these people, and they all fit. They were all part of the piece of the puzzle already. And they just all started coming in, and they all started coming in. And the next thing you know, we have Slipknot.
Paul's a hell of a guy, you know. That's he's just he's a good friend, and he had a good sense of humor and good energy. I miss his energy on, you know, days like this. He'd be really this would be exciting to him. This you know, this big stadium, you know, he'd be doing a lot of stuff today, and you know, his energy would be good, and I miss that. You know, just that positive, remembering why we were kids and jamming in a basement to take over the world in some rock band, you know, back when it was a dream. So, you know, he'd live it. He'd really appreciate this, and he would remind you not to take it for granted, you know, whereas some people look at it and say, you know, look, we got all these people. Some, you know, he'd put it into a really cool view that'd make you really appreciate it and not take it for granted.
Love it.
Yeah.
I don't have a favorite because they're all pieces of my life. So, but I'm very proud of this one. You know, like any album, we had a great time making it. We went to further places, pulled together, made some crazy music. The fans seem to love it. We love it. Things are good.
Well, you turn the TV off, you turn the movies off, you don't listen to the radio, you don't buy other people's music, and you just blindly get up and download all day. You pay attention, you know? You live in your own imagination, you pay attention, and you ask yourself, why did I choose to walk this way? And what did I find this way? And what am I taking back with me? So I try not to be imprinted by anything. I mean, look, at this point in the game, it's very hard to be original. But I want to be as close to original on how I feel as possible. Yeah, we can create things that might be reminiscent of other things, but where we are in this stage of the game, in life, with, you know, just all the great art and things that have been created in this thought process known as life, I just blindly get up, man, and I just let my instincts lead me. And usually the honest, truthful instincts are what I build anything on. So I just try not to let anybody try to push me in any sort of way of thinking. I try to allow myself to think for myself and find on my own.
we have a song called Surfacing, and there's a line in that song that says, "Don't ever judge me." And if there was anything that I thought had to be on my gravestone, or that I felt that we preached and that we wanted people to know, it would be that statement. So what happened when we started, our merchandising became an anomaly. And these kids would buy everything. You know, we had t-shirts that said "fuck it all" on it. And these kids would buy these t-shirts and they would go to school. And they would sit in class, and there wouldn't be one or two in class. There'd be 5 or 6. So all the people that kind of turned their backs on these kids, they knew 1 or 2 of them, but they didn't know these other 2 felt the same way. So these other kids had to take a good look at who these kids were. And now all of a sudden these kids had a purpose. I've talked to hundreds, if not thousands, of kids that would say that they would wear the same t-shirt every day in school for the entire year, have their mom wash that t-shirt every night so they could wear that statement, "Fuck it all, don't ever judge me." And these are the kids that we represent, and that's why we are a culture.
No matter where I go, you will find that. I mean, people have this shit in their bunk, clown hair. It's everywhere. It will be everywhere forever. It's still not us, man. We just fucking kill ourselves for everybody and everything. Always have, always will. And when I take the mask off, I think to myself, no disrespect to people that work hard in this country and devote their whole lives to making things run, but I put myself through utter fucking hell all night long so I can take it off and know that I gave 190%. Tonight I try to give fucking 300%. I don't know what I gave, but I gave a hell of a lot. And that's really what SLIPKNOT's about. That's why some of us wear masks. I don't wear a fucking mask. You better remember that always. I don't wear a mask. Never have, never will. You think whatever the hell you want, but I don't wear a mask. I don't need to.
There's just different temperatures and emotions going on these days, you know, so I feel like I had to go a little more finer, and I love it, you know.
It's about salvation with my brothers, and there's 9 of us, you know, so.
I love a good fishing show.
And a big fucking fish.
Yeah, man, you know, I mean, are just some talented, I know this is going to be like whatever, but like one thing I thought was really cool that I learned, I never, I'm a big time fisherman, and I always understood probably the love of fly fishing, but I never did it. And then one day someone told me that some of these guys that make the fly lures will go as far to find out what sort of flies and what sort of insects are being born at certain times.
Right.
And they will make it the fly at certain stages of that life that are original to that area. And I'm like, there you go, okay. Now I know, like this, okay. So those kinds of things fascinate me in life. Like right now I'm on this show called Filthy Riches, and there's a guy who digs up burrows from trees and makes veneer from them, you know, guitars, all kinds of stuff. There's guys that get night crawlers from like bays. Guys get mushrooms. Guys get ginseng, and this old dude that does these eels. He built this trap to get these eels. I'm fascinated with all that because it's like all of them say the same thing. Each and every one of them will tell you, look, we dig for worms here today, but we won't come back here for 3 months. The ginseng guy will be like, I haven't been here for 3 years. I'm gonna pick some ginseng from here, but we're gonna let it keep going. And I like that right now in my life, about maybe challenging myself to pull some art out of this world, like right out, just like a branch, you know. I don't know, but those kinds of things, I'm really in the awe factor of my life, because I've just been doing this for so long that I like to watch some of these old dudes who just check the fuck out. And they, you know, they're like, hey, I get mushrooms about every other day. I pay my bills, I put food on the table. That's all she wrote. I love the woods. So, you know, that kind of stuff. I like outdoors, And the world fascinates me. It's such a, well, it's unfortunate. I don't know if any of us really know what the whole thing is. I don't know if any of us have the money or the time or the strength to actually go figure out what the whole place is. And I've only been to a fraction of it, you know. I'll never get to Antarctica. I'm not going there.
I came up with wearing the mask because I didn't want people to see my real pain. I didn't want to be judged on, hey, he wears glasses. This week he has a goatee. This week he has his hair slicked back. I didn't want all that. I wanted to share my own fear behind the mask. So that way you, the fan, could adjust to the symbolism of what I represented.
It's filth. I hate all bands. And I don't care. I have nothing but respect for anybody that makes art, but unless you're in this fucking band and you just live in this filth, you don't know.
So, I mean, what I'm hearing, I don't really get on the internet much because, you know, I can get angry like anybody, but basically everybody that I've talked to or everybody, you know, they're pretty much in amazement by the new setup. And I feel indifferent about it only because, you know, well, one, when you help make it and you design it, you know, it's kind of like your baby. So I'm up there kind of like, oh God, do I like this? Do I not like this? But that's also being 4 years gone, you know. We've been gone a long time and just getting used to things. But everybody is loving the new set. So we definitely are expanding it as we go. We're just getting started. With a lot of tricks up the sleeve, but got to learn how to sleep in Europe first.
So that whole first record cycle, I put everything in my life second. I had no balance because I was on my selfish journey for my dream. And it's what I had to do. It's exactly what I had to do. And the next record comes along, and that's when all of a sudden we're bigger than life, larger than life. Everybody in the world wants to know who came up with it. So they start dividing and conquering everybody. Start getting bandmates to go their own ways. The drugs and the alcohol start coming in, and the girls and the popularity and all the crap. And you know, luckily, we were able to make the heaviest record of our career during the hardest of times and come out on the other side alive.
I think so. There is a lot of variety on it, you know, and it wasn't planned that way. It just ended up that way. It really did. It just, we didn't know what songs were going to be on the album. We didn't know the order until you work. And at the end of it, I agree with you. It's a very well-colored piece of work. There's a lot of different emotions on this album, lots of different places to go. And it's nice because you can go to one place and then continue kind of on a path and then get taken to a whole nother path, but then brought back. So we feel it's a really solid play.
I noticed very early within my own pain when I was able to take the time to look through my own eye holes and watch these kids, the kids that were the kids that I wanted to connect with. These were the children that I was waiting to meet. These were the kids that felt like I felt. These were my people. And I would notice the way they would move. And I would notice the way that they would get so tight that someone would pop up above and then crowd surf. And if you've ever watched maggots eat something like a deer, they eat straight up and down like this. They're vertical, all right? And they eat going down, so they're eating the meat going down. And they're packed in, just like our fans. And when a maggot would have enough to eat and maybe want to take a break, he would dislodge himself or whatever, you know, let go, and he would fall and he would find himself on top, and then it would roll across the rest, and then the pack would fill in the gap. So it was instantaneous thought in my mind that our kids are like maggots. They're feeding off of us. They might not be feeding off of our death, but they're feeding off of our disgusting way of thinking, our violent nature, our destructive, almost self-destructive nature. But it goes deeper than that. I knew from a very early time, the first record, after dubbing all the kids maggots, there was a bigger picture. I was hoping through my career, through all this anger, through all this violence, through all this hurt, through all this sadness, that I was going to get salvation for myself, that I was going to have a better awareness on oneself, that one day I was going to be okay. Now, if you know anything about a maggot, you know that a maggot turns into a fly. And a fly grows wings, something that humans don't have. And the fly is able to fly anywhere it wants to go. It can leave the death and fly to a flower, fly anywhere it wants, to a place of beauty, to a place of peace, to a place so far from where it had been rooted. And that's what I wanted. So by the third album, I was starting to interject pictures of flies. Like if you look at the third album and you open up the booklet, there's a picture of me standing there like this, going like this. And if you look very closely, there are flies that I am juggling. They're very transparent and they're hard to see because it's just not a blatant philosophy I want to give. But that's what I want. And that's what I've been trying to do this whole time, was to find my own salvation through my own anger.
That's great.
There's a lot that goes into Slipknot. You'll never figure us out. You don't need to. I'm gonna take a fucking shower.
I don't care about what anybody wants. I know everybody wants our money, so we take our time. That's how you get real art. That's how you do real things. So the corporate world, the technology, the internet, all that can go as fast as it wants. I love watching everybody try to catch up to something that they will never catch up to. I'll give you a quick story. I have dealt with a lot of kids lately who get on SoundCloud and they do these things, and they're all going on eBay and buying mass quantities of cassette tapes because it's more inexpensive, less of a hassle than converting to crappy MP3s or dealing with some company's version of compression. These kids are putting their music on cassette tapes for the main reason they can get it to more people. I find that ironic because how do those people even know that people have cassette machines? People don't throw their cassette machines away. They don't throw tape machines away. It doesn't happen. So I'm not in a big hurry to worry about what everybody else is. Everybody else can drown. You know what I mean? I'm sitting back doing it as slowly and as, I guess, precise as we can, because I see everybody jumping into fads and themes and, got to get involved with the viral and all that. Well, we don't. I don't. You know, we have a team. We do big things, but just kind of do it at our speed. You know, you still have to stop and ask what you're doing. You know, just because things are moving quick and stuff, but, you know, you got to kind of...
I'm an only child, so I never really knew how to share, and I also never really understood the idea of doing things your way. You know, if I was in a group and someone wanted to do it this way, I'd say, well, I've sat in my own imagination for hours and I've dreamt it up this way, and I'm positive that if you follow me, we will get out of this burning building. And the selfishness is what's achieved my dream, but it's also the selfishness has put what's almost, well, my parents are more important to me than my dreams, you know. But it is that selfish journey that made me realize, you know, really what was important to me.
We didn't try, you know. We just do what we do, man. Wait until the next record, you know.
Part of the molecular makeup of what we are, because when people hear Des Moines, Iowa, they think Slipknot, but then they think, let's get the fuck out of here. And I'll tell you what, you're doing the right thing.
I'm gonna sit over here because that's wet, because that's where Clown was. And I'm not stupid. I'm not gonna sit where Clown sat. I love art. I love people that dedicate their life to art. Art gives you some sort of peaceful place. It allows you to be yourself. You know, you a little salvation. And I've said it over and over and over again. Slipknot's not a band, we're a culture. We have the Church of the Knot. We have the Ultra of the Knot. We give the sermon of the knot to the congregation of the knot. And I guess if you're gonna have a church, man, you gotta be willing to nail yourself to the cross, and it's pretty much what I do every night.
I think it's just an amazing thing, the internet, you know. I mean, it's just like,
Towards the end of my third record cycle, I lost my father. And I remember it in a very bad way because I had gotten off the tour and I was off for 2 weeks. 2 weeks. And in those 2 weeks, I saw my dad and mom once. So I went over, I saw my dad before I left, right at the end, and we got in a fight, and I wasn't there 15 minutes. And I was out on the road, and I was in Toronto, and I got a call, and I was devastated, and that's when the 2-hour rules start coming into play, because I started thinking to myself, wow, if I would have taken 2 hours a day for all these years that I hadn't been going to my folks. My dad and mom woke up early. I could have got my butt out of bed at 7:30, taken a shower, gone over to my parents' house, drank coffee with them, hung out with them until 10 o'clock, come home, and had the rest of the day to do whatever I want, feel good about myself. But instead, I slept till noon, you know? And I started realizing, wow, all it would have taken was 2 hours a day. Just 2 hours a day.
Yeah, I mean, he's the lead vocalist, so, he's got to start from something personal, whether it's something he personally experienced, something we experienced, something he saw someone else experience, what the world has experienced. So, I imagine he does have a lot of personal stuff going on in this record. But, I make it my own. I think about what he's going through, but I love what he does, so I make his words mine, I make them for me. So, they are pretty personal for me. So I bet you he's going through a lot of personal shit too.
what's everybody really trying to do? I mean, everybody's trying to outdo each other with better things, faster way. I mean, just last night, I saw that some company is burying treasure. So you're like, I want to buy treasure. They're like, cool, we're gonna go bury it. So they take all this stuff and they bury it in the ground. They give you a map and you got to go find it. You literally dig it up. I personally think that's genius. I think that's fun. I'm like, wow, someone's got a pretty original idea there. But what's going to happen is 50 other companies are going to show up and just ruin it all. It's all going to be garbage. It's all going to be, what can we give away for a penny and make $60? It's all bullshit to me, But I like that idea, but I just know it's going to get destroyed. It's going to get oversaturated. Boom, boom, boom. Like just last month, I'm like, oh my God, I belong to this and this and this and this, and they all have the same movie. So I'm just trying to focus myself in on knowing one direction and not being divided by all the tricks and the knowledge, and that's the other side's way. I'm a rock and roll guy.
Because it's when you're older when you all start getting these ideas of looking at your parents, and they all of a sudden slip a little bit, and you're like, whoa, Dad's getting older, and you just never saw that coming. So instead of running and hiding and not dealing with it, it's just so much easier to go, you know what? I know that my dad would love spending 2 hours with me today.
People do come up with lines. Sometimes you come up with a line, and if you feel like it's Slipknot, I'll tell him. Right off the bat, I can't, I don't know if I have any lines on it, I talk a little bit on the record. I think it's basically all him. But there could be lines from other people, he takes lines, but I wrote, the only thing that I did was be prepared for hell. Those are my words, and I'm singing that.
Well, yes, we live in a much, much, much different environment. And I'm ashamed to say this,
but our band wouldn't last too quick nowadays the way we acted in 99 and on. But see, that's the whole plan, you know. I chose a real job that was art and fun and a dream, so I get to be what I want when I want. So, but yes, we're feeling it a lot, and it's scary a little bit, you know, because you got all these generations before us who would make mistakes, and, you know, they get reprimanded and be responsible for their decisions. But now somebody's got a camera in your face, you know, the viral stuff. An innocent person, everyone should be allowed to slip, you know? It's when you're doing it all the time, it's a problem, you know? But it just seems like everybody wants to catch everybody up. So it is a much different environment. And yes, I have to be true. I have to take all that in account. We're not going to alter our lyrics or art in a package none of that is ever going to ever be censored. That comes from here. But yeah, it's a Slipknot in 2019. It's a pretty scary thought, but we're here and we're going to do what we do. We're not really worried about changing too much, but you know, there are new generations in front of us, you know, and they're smart and they got things.
So the fourth record comes, next thing you know, #1 record. And then I'm in Toronto and the phone is just blowing up. I'm like, I'm not answering the phone for anyone. Finally, my wife calls me 7 times and I pick it up and she's like, your mom's dying. And she's like, you gotta come home. My mom had Alzheimer's and dementia. So I came home and I spent 4 days with my mom and she passed. I got this 2-hour rule, but here my mom's passed and I didn't even go see her for that many years while she was in the hospital because I was too afraid. I didn't like looking at her like that. I couldn't handle it. That's what I convinced myself of. I had a hard time being with her. But looking back now, I should have just sat there and held her hand and read Dr. Seuss books, showed her pictures of Rembrandt, and said thank you. Doesn't matter if you're there or not, I'm here. I'm gonna spend these 2 hours. So I have severe regret by not living by my own rules.
Yeah, I mean, they were there. They gave their ideas. You know, I don't know how much of it. They more or less were thrown into the mixer to be. Not really as an offering, you know, just get the fuck in there and be. And we bring the best out of everything, you know, but they're here and they're touring and they're brothers and we'll just see what happens as life goes on, but everything's good to go.
2 hours a day. You know, you start with a minute, you take it a minute at a time, but 2 hours gets it done. You know, 2 hours puts a smile on your face and it puts a smile on other people's face.
Right here, bro. Right here. Can't touch this. This is what we got. This is what we always have. This shit's real. It's not fucking, you think I like fucking being in these dressing rooms? The way it smells and fucking cold and nothing to do, you know? We're here because we have a painting that we want to share with the people of Milan. And it's important enough to get up and bring all my people to this place so they and us can paint together. Only this is strong enough to make that happen after this fall.
My bass player, as most of you probably know, he passes. It's almost, you know, it's going on 2 years, and he and I started the band.
Yeah, I mean, I don't look like I looked in 1999, so why would I make music of 1999? However, I'm still me, so you're still gonna get me. You're still gonna get Slipknot, always. But we from the very beginning, we're always growing. It's our way. You know, the next thing will be different, and you'll be sitting here going, shh, again? It's just who we are, man.
And it was actually harder losing him than it was my parents, because I was always prepared for them to die. I would have never imagined he was gonna pass, you know. I thought we were gonna be old mates for a long time talking about this.
People have gotta be careful. We got a thing going on here. We got a fucking culture. Lots of people, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it's there. We represent something that a lot of people want to ignore, and you can't ignore life. You can't ignore the human condition. Wait until Slipknot's #1 position in Italy. Maybe that'll take 10 more years, but it will happen.
We started the band together, so we were always on each other's backs. He kept me in check, and I kept him in check. And he was like, your ego's out of control. You better, da, 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 da. And I'd be like, go to hell. And then I'd be like, you're doing this and that. And we just kept each other in check. But what we didn't do was hang out in our hotel rooms and just watch a new movie. Get a couple drinks, get some room service, no talking, just spending time together. Now he's gone. And I think, God, this whole time, man, the guy I started the band with, I never took any time to just be his friend and put Slipknot aside for a moment and just go, yo, man, you want to go to a museum? What do you want to do? You want to go get a steak? What do you like? I like to go check out churches. You want to come to a church with me? They're beautiful. I never did.
Well, I always just say thank you very much. We love each and every one of you. Hope you're enjoying the new record. Hope you get a chance to come see us live. We'd like to see you. Take care of each other. Take care of yourself.
That, we all need time. We're all hurting in different ways, and we're not at all just ready to get together because you can imagine what that next record's going to be about, and you cannot make that contrived. You cannot push that. If we want to make a song about Paul, the worst thing we could do is just all get together tonight and say, let's make a song about Paul. No, I'm still thinking about it. I haven't even begun. His tombstone still isn't in the ground yet. I don't have peace yet. When there's a tombstone placed on the ground, that'll be another step to losing this grieving, but there's lots of things, he's got a daughter, man. I think about it every day. He died before even seeing his own child. That, for someone like me, I can't spend too much time thinking about that. Being alive, knowing you're going to have a baby, and then being gone. I miss him, and I'm so sad, and it hurts. So I need more time. We all do, and it's not about me. We all have our different ways, but there will be a day we'll all chalk it up and go, feeling good. It's time to do this, and we'll know, and it will happen. It definitely will happen. Guaranteed it will happen. It's just not when everybody else wants us to happen. And in the grand scheme of life, it'll all be great, because when it does happen, it'll just be like a flash of an eye, and it'll be our best record to date, because it's going to come from somewhere we haven't been yet. So it's going to be some serious, serious stuff.